Please pray with me. Lord, take me where you want me to go. Let me meet who you want me to meet. Tell me what you want me to say. And please, please, keep me out of your way. Amen. Please be seated. This gospel reading on its face can be a very condemning gospel reading. But I believe actually it is one of the most compassionate of the readings, and I'll explain why in a minute. But first, I want to get to this section where it talks about pitting daughter against mother and son against father and households and all of this, and explain this, unpack it a little bit, if we will. First of all, this was written in a time when it was quite controversial to suddenly be one of these Jesus followers. Households were torn apart by faith, by religion, by people not accepting and understanding that someone else was finding another path to God. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Sounds very 21st century to me, where families stopped talking to each other over differences of faith, where whole groups of people stopped talking to each other because of differences of faith. In fact, they set out to harm them because they believe differently than they do. It's a sad time. It's not new. What's sad about it is that it continues to this day. But what I think is underlying a lot in this reading here is talking about how we live in this moment. We are constantly thinking no further than today, maybe tomorrow. And we think that's all there is in this world. And that is not the case. Jesus is trying to point out to us that this is but a temporal time for each and every one of us. This experience that you're having right now is not the end of all things. So if you put all of your focus on today, amassing as much money as you can, buying all the toys that you can, having the highest position that you possibly can, all of those things will fall away and matter not for the true existence of this world. I'm often reticent to tell very much personal stories in my sermon, but I will share my experience with this gospel reading in my discernment to the priesthood. I think I have mentioned before that I went through about a 13-year discernment process, starting when I was 33, before I went to seminary at 46. I fought against it for a very long time. It is not something that I ever aspired to or wanted to do. I had a lovely life. I was successful. I had a beautiful home. I traveled. I was with my kids every other day. I did not want to give that up. But over time, because I continued to deny what God was calling me to, things were taken away from me. My business began to shrink. My thriving ad agency was suddenly going through layoff after layoff after layoff after we lost clients. I lost relationships. And I finally had this horrific image that the last thing to be taken away from me were my two beautiful young children. I literally had this image of me standing with them behind me and me protecting them from God. And that was a wake-up call, because I realized I had been putting all of these things before God and what God was calling me to do in my life. For me, it was ordained ministry. For you, it's probably something different. But God is calling you just the same as He called me. And I will tell you that when I begrudgingly walked into my rector's office, hat in hand, downcast, and said, I think I must listen to this voice inside of me that says I'm being called to ordination. What is the process? that almost immediately my life turned around. My business blossomed again. I saw my children more than I had been seeing them before. Relationships flourished in my life again. The things that I had been clinging to that were indeed shrinking, once I loosened that grip on them, began to flourish again, and do to this day. The other part of this gospel that I find so compassionate and beautiful is this talk about the sparrow and about the hairs on your head. I don't know about you, but I have a few less these days for God to count, but they're still there. And what a lovely message. When He is calling you to do something for Him, remember the fact that He knows even when a sparrow drops from the sky, because He is the creator of that sparrow. And He knows you so well, He numbers the hairs on your head. He is watching you. He is holding you close. And He will see you through whatever process, be it ordination or be it some other ministry in His name. He will guide you and hold you tight and give you the gifts and the skills to see you through. I never believed that I could be standing here at this pulpit. I knew somewhere in my process I would be told no or would not make it through. No one is more surprised than I am that I stand here before you, I assure you. God does wondrous things and will do so for you. So my prayer for you today is that you will open your heart and your mind to what God is calling you to. How you can serve in God's name. Be a part of this world, but not of this world. Amen.